actually, maybe this is a good way to transition to the world of Ratchet and Clank Future, Tools of Destruction.
Sure. Yeah, I can talk about, well, of course, we had that EGM article that came out last month, which we haven't talked about yet. And then we had a focus test in late March that we had talked about before. And the good news is that everything went really well. We were really happy with the results. And we had a lot of older players that really seemed to like it. And over half of them said they'd recommend it to their friends. And that's something that we typically didn't get in the early years of Ratchet. A lot of people looked at it as kind of like a cartoony game that they felt was maybe better for their younger brother. So this was like the age group of 16 plus. We had people ranging from 16 all the way to in their 40s. And what we found is that a lot of the people that were maybe in their 20s or in their late teens liked the game because when the first Ratchet came out, they were 13 or 14, and they were kind of our target audience at the time. So that was great to see. Yeah, I mean, it was really good stuff, and it gave us a lot of really good information. I think the few people that maybe had issues with it just felt it was either too difficult, and so that's a lot of the other stuff that we can address is tuning the gameplay, tuning the weapons to make it so it's just right for those folks.
Right. This is more. I mean, this initial focus test or play test is much more about just general playability and fun factor, much more than it is about assessing difficulty, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, really, we just got all of our pieces in there, and we hadn't really had a chance to polish a lot of it. So the fact that we've been getting really good scores is a good sign. I also just want to give a quick shout-out to Nick Suttner, who is a fellow podcast listener and actually participated in the focus test. And
cool.
So he gave us,
Awesome.
he gave us some really good feedback. Big fan of the series. He played all the games. He said that he really liked the fact that we were going back to our roots and that we were making more of an adventure-style game. So thanks a lot, Nick.
That is really cool.
Yeah, and one other funny thing that came up was we were asking people about their favorite weapons, and usually you have like people will say, "Oh, this was our favorites," and then this was our least favorites. But everyone had their own favorite, and it was kind of all over the board.
Sure.
So that was good. But we'd asked about the tornado launcher, and some people were like, "Oh, the tornado launcher was fun, but I didn't quite understand what it was doing when I'd launch it." And then we'd say, "Well, did you use the SIXAXIS control?" And they're like, "You can use SIXAXIS control?" And we're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh man, that's sick." So we need to probably give them a better help message to let them know about SIXAXIS. So those are the things that kind of come up that you just assume everybody knows, and they don't.
Were you surprised about? I know we were talking about like the fact that older gamers actually were more into this demo than they have been in past playtests for past Ratchet games, and maybe talk just a little bit more about that and what those implications might be.
Yeah, well, I think it's great for us in that there's a lot of older gamers that own PS3s, and that's typically the age range.
And when we say older gamers, like what are we really talking about here?
It's 16 and up, roughly. But
am I ancient at a 32-year-old gamer then?
Oh, you're twice 16. Oh, I'm even more ancient, so
All right, well, that makes me feel a little.
But
better.
yeah, 30s are the new 20s.
There you go.
That's the new black.
That means James is a puppy.
That's right. Yeah. But yeah, it's just really promising to get a lot of people who are big fans of a number of different games. There are people that love the Halos, the Grand Theft Autos, and they also love the Ratchets. So that's a good sign that we are a wider range. I think also the game, when you look at it, it has just a greater level of sophistication. It has a lot more detail, and it looks more like a next-gen game. Sure. And so where before maybe we're a bit too cartoony, more stylized, and people would kind of glance at it and immediately think it was younger.
Cool.
Yeah, I played through the entire focus disc and thumbs up.
Yeah, great feedback.
Yeah, I played. I still have 2 more levels to get through, but there's so much potential there. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, the next focus will be interesting because we're going to feature the level that was in our EGM article, which was the Kirchu City level. And that's also been featured in the sizzle reel. So I think a few people were looking forward to actually playing that level, and they were like, "Oh, where was that?" So it's coming up.
Well, in talking about the trailer for a bit, we've gotten a great response from that, and I think that it would be interesting for our listeners to learn about what went into making this trailer. I mean, we really worked solid couple months on from concept to completion at least.
Oh, yeah. Well, what we had done was that was our first playable level, and we had to get it up and working by September 1st. And then the next step was to take that level and get it ready for the sizzle reel, which was going to be roughly before we went on break for Thanksgiving. So it was I think it was November 17th. And the tricky part was just finding all the right camera angles and the different pieces that we wanted to show off. And we had to kind of polish each one of those pieces because we couldn't polish the whole level. We were actually working on some other stuff, a lot of levels for our upcoming focus test. So that really required us to take a lot of the in-game stuff and figure out where we wanted to add our animations, add our effects, and then we could kind of capture that frame by frame. The game was running at a decent frame rate, but to make sure that we hit 30 frames per second, which was going to be for the video that was shown on the web, we had to actually do a special capture process. But it was a really great exercise for us because it really helped us think about how we visually presented the game to the audience and how we could have those visceral shots, those visceral moments. And then that helped us in putting that actually into the game. So